Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to show you another unseen poetry response. I'm going to attempt to do this in 25 minutes, so let's click go on this. And again, I'm going to use a poem for which I am, let me just say hello from there, for which I am not 100% familiar with. In fact, this poem, this will be the first time I've seen it. So hopefully there might be something in the way of some flustering or some mistakes made, which I can show you how I would overcome this. Like with before, for 3 sections, the initial idea, or more helpfully the global idea, and it's not necessarily the beginning of the poem. Okay, then I want to see the development or the intensification, and then finally, is there a resolution or not? And those will form the 3 aspects of my interpretations. Amongst those, I'm going to need to ensure that I have analysis of language, form, and structure, and I need to ensure that I have alternative interpretations as well. Okay. I'm going to consider my writer acronym, but I'm just going to consider this in my head. I'm not going to actually use this to write down a response. So looking at this now, this poem is Spring in the Wartime by Edith Nesbit. The question is going to be, what do you think the poet is saying about the effects of war, and how did she present her ideas? So, spring in wartime. So initially I associate spring with fecundity, with renewal, with growth, with youth. And let's see what it says now. So, now the sprinkled blackthorn snow lies upon the lover's lane, where last year we used to go, where we shall not go again. In hedge the buds are new, by our woods the violets peer, just like last year's violets too, but they have no scent this year. Every bird had heart to sing of its nest warm by its breast. We had hearts to sing last spring, but we never built our nest. So again we can see this combination of the we's through here, change there. Pleasantly red roses blown, we will make all the garden gay. Not yet have the daisies grown on your clay. Wow, okay, so we can see there's a slam, wartime, clay. We can see that there's been a death here, presumably from the speaker to the person speaking. Okay then, spring in wartime. I think the global idea is this idea of looking back, this reverie that's not enjoyable. This memory of how the love used to be, linking this idea of nature, and again this use of final line in each stanza, providing a punchline to each of the ideas provided before. There's a certain regularity to the stanza length, how many syllables in each one. Now the sprinkled blackthorn snow lies along the first line. Okay. So far I can see a regular 7 syllables in each line. Yeah, on your clay. So there's a break in the rhythm in the last line, and that's clearly going to be significant. So I can see the title could be an important thing to raise my to establish idea. Sprinkle blackthorn snow. Now blackthorn, it's interesting that it's being used here as an adjective. What is blackthorn snow? I'm not certain. I presume blackthorns would be thorns in a blackberry. Connotations of black and the thorn: dark, warlike, aggressive, dangerous. Maybe that will be an image I have there. Again, the structure here, the break provided by the hyphen, could be helpful to then link that to the punchline at the end of each stanza. Okay then, so let's look at some of the ideas that I'm going to say for this. Before I say the idea, before I talk about ideas, so spring in wartime, blackthorn, snow, hyphen the punchline at the end of the lines from there, claim it at the end, and again the robin, the life might be a kind of intensification of moving it from the in a landscape to animals, as might be my intensification from there. And I will see if there's a different kind of interpretation to place from there. So 5 minutes looking at the poem. I've got some ideas for quotations, and I'm going to start to write and hope my ideas come. With form, there's a regularity there that I can exploit as well. So rhythm, imagery, I've got techniques I can pick up as I go along. Effect and response. So my response is that here this tone, the voice looks back with a sense of forlorn longing, that a sense of regret, perhaps. Expectations are that there's going to be a reconciliation between the voice and the lover of whom they speak, which makes the final line of the poem all the more tragic. Okay, so let's start off the very first paragraph. So, Nesbit, double T. I think it is 1T, but I checked. So Nesbit presents, and then let's just have a look at that question again, just to be hyper sure about what it's saying. The effect of war. The effect of war. Okay. And let's get some of the idea of tone. So presents the effects of war with devastatingly, let's spell it right, devastatingly forlorn regret on the devastating forlorn regret for presumed lost love. Okay. The title is simplistic enough. Spring in wartime. And I would make sure that with that computer that would be capitalized, but I'm not liking the keys on this. Okay. Spring is associated with renewal and youth and fecundity, or ideas that frame the presented love interest to which the voice affectionately refers to throughout the poem. Okay. Wartime is a rather neutral term through which to describe this spirit, experience. And this remarkably understated tone seems to continue throughout the poem. So mention of tone, mention of form. The voice presents their love for another amidst repeated references to nature. Most notably in the first stanza with the words about blackthorn snow, with the delightful image of sprinkled blackthorn snow. Is it a pronoun of blackthorn? I don't think it is. No. Okay. The delicate verb sprinkled implies a deliberate action on the part of the snow, perhaps suggesting a creator. This is a reading that a Christian in wartime Britain would certainly want to experience or prioritize. The presence of snow connotes a sense of innocence and wonder that contrasts with the devastation and danger that war can bring. Fairly weak adjectives there because they can both be matched together, but we've placed it down already. I then want to think about the blackthorn. I don't want to make too much mention of it because I'm not personally certain this time as it has a certain reference in country. So I can say the connotations of blackthorn provide a further juxtaposition to the beauty of snow, as thorns can be physically dangerous and certainly painful. Similar to the effects of war. Okay, so I'm making some ideas, linking to the questions. It is what it is at the moment. Okay, it's always a feeling when seeing poetry. So I'm looking down now at the rest of this. So in the hedge, the buds are new. By our woods, the violets peer, just like last year's violets do, but they have no scent this year. That's interesting. Okay, so this reference to the love interest through among the environment continues throughout the poem with references, no, prevent reference too much, with depictions of the growth of flowers, namely violets. The delightful and the gentle sonification of them peak, square brackets to conjugate, so I can read from the quotation. The gentle sonification of them peaking at the voice in the poem is reminiscent of perhaps the, I've become metallic, it's reminiscent perhaps of the previous coupled experiences that were shared in this environment. The regular rhythm of 7 syllables and matched couplet rhyme that continues throughout the entirety of the poem, save the devastating, arduous, painful last line, perhaps emphasizes the idea of nature continuing and continuing regardless of the effects of war, that they have no scent, they being the flowers have no scent, suggests that even though my life is spelled properly, shall we say, even though nature has physically exists, the effects of war, the effects of war render any pleasant experiential aspects of nature redundant. Okay. I've got 2 paragraphs here. I've got a further 10 minutes. I go into a little bit more depth here. Okay. I can talk about different readings, alternative interpretations. Alternatively, I've used signpost alternatively without even having idea for alternative idea now. We had Hearts to Sing last spring. Alternatively, perhaps nature is not being experienced by the voice in the poem because without the lost partner indicated by the final line, nature simply cannot be appreciated. I'll be naughty about computer nature and by implication life in general simply cannot be appreciated. Okay. I want to make it further. This notion is further developed by the what the animals here. Heart to sing, nest warmed by its breast. We have heart to sing last spring by the uneasy image of the voice having heart to sing. Heart in this instance evokes a sense of romance and passion, both destroyed in the aftermath of war. That this is linked to the robin warming the nest with its breast. This link to the robin warming the nest with its breast makes the domesticity of this image so much more devastating instead of already galling, therefore would be particularly striking to the reader who has themselves already made a home. Okay, let's tie this up now 6 minutes. We'll look at the last quotation, the last idea from here. Presently, red rose blown will make the garden gay. Not yet have the daisies grown on your clay. And there's certainly a sense of time being away here. Okay. That's what peculiar. The resolution of the feelings of regret with the voice's partner presumably dead in the clay. Apologize for the accent in the terrible computer. That should really be a close quotation mark. The resolution of the feelings of regret with the voice's partner presumably dead in the clay is problematized. Okay, that's made it Americanized, I believe it would be. At the end. Whilst the final line is delivered in only 3 syllables, breaking the established pattern of 7, and underscoring the ending, the premature ending of the voice's partner. It also develops a reference which is grown, which develops an easy image from the daisies growing from the grave. Normally associated with childhood, fun, and trivial, carefree days. Again, connotations we can link and expect from springtime. Associated. The daisies here continue the idea that nature will continue regardless of human loss and devotion. 3 minutes to go. I'm happy enough for this. This starkly and somewhat nihilistic somewhat nihilistic reading could be further manufactured, unusual verb there, by the use of the, what kind of verb? Of the problematized, unusual verb make. Unusual choice of verb make. Perhaps the effects of war have destroyed the childish joy of appreciating nature, and instead they are more aware of the need to construct joy and pleasure, and perhaps therefore consolation from the aftermath of death. I am left with the final word hanging from the end of the first line of the last sentence. The explosive open vowel verb vowel. Like flowers that are delicate and blown by the wind, by necessity to fertilize. Young men are physically blown apart in war, and young women's minds and lives are similarly unspokenly, let's close this, unspokenly blown apart too. This is perhaps the most disturbing message from the poem and its most desperate upsetting. Reading. Okay, so let's have a quick read through this. Let's see poetry response. What to think about it? Yeah, it's all right. What it is. Genuine response. Okay, so Nesbit presents the effects of war with a devastatingly forlorn regret for a presumed lost love. Wordy, but it's trying to get the global idea. Title is simplistic enough. Spring and wartime, showing expectations of thousand poetry. Spring is associated with renewal and youth and fecundity. That means fertility. All ideas that frame the presented love interest to which the voice affectionately refers to throughout the poem. Wartime is a rather neutral term. Go through and make sure I've got speech marks either side. It doesn't work on this laptop. Which to describe this desperate, a rather neutral term through which to describe this desperate experience, and this remarkably understated tone seems to continue throughout the poem. The voice presents their love for another amidst repeated references to nature, most notably in the first stanza with the delightful verb of sprinkled image of sprinkled blackthorn snow. The delicate verb sprinkled implies a deliberate action on the part of the snow, perhaps suggesting a creator. This is a reading that a Christian wartime Britain would certainly want to experience. Presence of snow connotes a sense of innocence and wonder that contrasts with the devastation and danger that war can bring. The connotation of blackthorn provides a further juxtaposition to the beauty of snow, as thorns can be physically dangerous and slightly painful, similar to the effects of war. A bit weak, but it's the point nevertheless. This reference to the love interest among the environment continues throughout the poem with depictions of the growth of flowers, namely violets. The gentle personification of them peaking at the voice in the poem is reminiscent of perhaps the previous coupled experiences that were shared in this environment. The regular rhythm of 7 syllables and matched couplet rhyme that continues throughout the entirety of the poem, save the painful last line, perhaps emphasizes the idea of nature continuing and continue regardless of the effects of war. That they have no sense suggests that even though nature physically exists, the effects of war is under any pleasant experiential aspects of nature redundant. That should really say physically exists separate to man. Alternatively, perhaps nature has not been experienced by the voice in the poem because without the lost partner, indicated final line, nature and implication life in general simply cannot be appreciated. That's not actually an alternative interpretation. So that's fairly weak. First one says the explanations are redundant, simply cannot be appreciated if not shared. If they cannot be shared. That is somewhat more precise, but again, it's unseen poetry, thinking on the spot. This notion is further developed by the uneasy image of the voice having heart to sing. Heart in this instance evokes a sense of remorse, okay, and that's actually a metaphor. There we go. Evokes a sense of romance and passion, both destroyed in the aftermath of war. This is linked to the robin warming the nest with its breast. Speech marks around that if it wasn't on the computer. Makes the domesticity of this image so much more galling, and therefore would be particularly striking to the reader who has themselves already made out. Resolution of feelings of regret with the voices piped between the dead and the clay. Speech marks is problematized at the end of the poem. Whilst the final line is delivered in only 3 syllables, breaking the established pattern of 7 and underscoring the premature ending of the voice's partner, it also develops an uneasy image from the daisies growing from the grave. Normally associated with childhood fun and trivia, carefree days, again connotations we can link and expect from springtime. The daisies here continue the idea that nature will continue regardless of human loss and emotion. It's stark and somewhat nihilistic, which means that you believe in nothing. Reading could be further manufactured by the use of the unusual choice of the verb make. Perhaps the effect of war have destroyed the childish joy of appreciating nature and instead they are more aware of the need to construct pleasure and perhaps therefore consolation from the aftermath of death and war. I'm left with the final word hanging from the end of the first line, the last stanza. Wow. The explosive, wow, open vowed verb blown. Like flowers that are delicate and blown by the wind, by necessity to fertilize, young men are physically blown apart in war. Young women's minds and lives are similarly and unspokenly blown apart too. This is perhaps the most disturbing message from the poem and its most upsetting reading. Okay, hope that's useful. There we go.